If I had these lessons when I started, my life would have been so much easier. And these are 31 different lessons, and they get better the more you watch them, because in my life, when I went from 0 to 1,000 to a million, the lessons became bigger the more I grew, which makes a lot of sense if you think about it. And so we're going to go through step by step from 0 to 1,000. If you're at 1,000, 10,000 a month, it's the same lessons that I've done and that I had to learn the hard way to get to 100K per month. So no matter where you are right now, if you want to start a business, if it's an agency, freelancing, course business, YouTube business, whatever it is, these lessons are life-changing. And once you start implementing just a couple of these, you're going to see massive improvements that some of the things you haven't even thought about. And you're going to be more productive. You're going to have more energy. You're going to have better results, more confidence. You're going to get more clients, more customers. Everything in life will be easier because you have these. And so the first thing is actually a 3-part lesson in studying. And you're here studying, you're watching this video, right? And so I had to learn that if I wanted to learn something new, I first had to unlearn something else so I can replace it. And so in order to do that, if I had spent 10, 15 years in school, I had to study every single day to learn something new, right? Which makes sense. But the question was, how do I even start studying? And so in order for me to learn something new, to make money, we've all heard that you need high income skills. But that's not the first step. The first step that I had to learn was, I'm actually just going to study every single day. So I'm going to read books, I'm going to listen to them, I'm going to go for a walk or run, I'm going to listen to podcasts, because my goal is not to get really good at something that I can sell yet, even though that's what you hear online. My goal is to reprogram this by understanding how successful people think. There are principles like second order consequences or the compound effect, or things that if you don't understand them, you'll never build a successful business. And you'll see why in a second. So I study every single day to understand how someone thinks. Then number 2 is I study specifics. So I go and study marketing books, maybe Russell Brunson's Expert Secrets and Influence and all these books. And then I go and study specifics in sales. And maybe there's a sales framework book. Maybe it's Never Split the Difference. Or maybe it's Grant Cardone's 10X, even though I don't agree with everything he says or does. But I'm studying specifics to take the meat, cut the fat, trim the steak, and keep what I like. Number 3, I study something that's exactly what I need at the moment. So when I wanted to outsource more and scale my business, I read Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. When I wanted to start my business and build something that I could exit, which I've now done, then I listened to The Millionaire Fastlane of building assets and building business that cash flow because of the value in the business, not because you're in it. Number 4, I would say the biggest change for me was, and this was the tipping point. There's a good book about this called The Tipping Point. One of the biggest tipping points in my career has been where I locked myself in for 6 months. Well, I've also locked myself in for 6 years, but for 6 months, I've just been focused on learning every single day, learning specifics, learning one thing at a time. And then I would just, without making announcements to the world, I would just go and do the work every single day. And these are things that people don't see. You don't even see it because you're just planting seeds. You're watering the seeds. And then when they start growing, people say, how did you do that? What changed? How did you get your first $1,000 client? How did you learn this skill? I want to do what you're doing. Well, sure, you want to get what I have, but you don't want to plant the seeds that I planted, right? So when you go and hide for 6 months, I'm not saying 24/7, avoid all, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, and friends and family. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm saying no more parties, right? You don't go and just go for shopping sprees, or you travel the world, or 2-week vacations, when you can do that later in life. You can do that in literally 6 months from now. I'm saying 6 months of just focus. And if that's too much to ask, then you probably don't deserve the life that you want. If you never in your life can't do 6 months of just focused work, where you wake up, You go to work, or if you're in school, just drop out. If you have a job, sure, go to the the job that you have, but then just work on yourself and work on your business in the evenings, in the weekends. If you have family, great. Spend 2 hours of quality time with them, and then when kids go to sleep, work on yourself, work on your business, and just it's more about 365 days of improving 1% each day, rather than waiting for one big tipping point breakthrough moment that you actually didn't deserve. You were just kind of engaging in the game of business and waiting for that moment. But the moment isn't coming to you. You're going and looking for it. And for every drawer that you open, there's nothing in it. It's empty. But then in one of them, there's like, that's the thing that is going to help you become successful. So before I started my business, I had 15 different jobs. I just wanted to try new things. When I became successful in this business, in my funnel agency, I had tried a lot of other businesses that failed, but each of them became a stepping stone to the next thing. And every time that I did something, when I did e-commerce, I learned a little bit about this. I learned a little bit about Shopify. I learned a little bit about branding the product. I learned a little bit about marketing and copywriting. And everything that I learned helped me when I had my other business, my next business. When I did my first local business where we had this reward card, you would get 10% discounts on local businesses. I had to cold call businesses and say, hey, do you want to join this network? It's free for you. All you do is when people show this card, they get 10% discount for supporting local. And so everything built on top of each other where I learned skills, and I just stayed focused on doing the thing that I need to do every single day. I guess you could call it like the daily like stack. So like, what are the things that you stack each day? And when they're stacked high enough, then failure is not even an option, because when you do it long enough and you don't give up, you'll be irreplaceable, you'll be undeniable. And there's no reason you can't win in the marketplace, because other people are partying, other people are going on vacation, other people are distracted, other people are doing drugs and drinking and smoking, and they're doing everything else that the 1% aren't. So how long do you think that you can keep the 1% stuck when they're working on themselves every single day, non-stop, just focused effort? Wake up, work, exercise, eat, 1 hour social, not social media, socializing with people that you love, and then back to work. So the next one is fade out toxic friendships. So just because I was born in a specific city, in a village, and in school with certain people, doesn't mean that for the rest of our lives we're going to be good friends. That also doesn't mean that I have to be toxic or that I have to completely cut them out in a bad way. I don't have to be a bad person. It's just we're not going to have the same future. And so we don't have to spend time as much as we used to. And so when I say fading out friendships, I'm not saying you have to cut everyone. I'm saying if they're not serving you when you're literally going under and you're losing yourself because you're not going after your goals and you feel like you're dying inside, then don't you think it's time to prioritize your true inner child, the person that you truly are, and then the person that you know you can become. And it's only when you do that that naturally old friendships that no longer serve you, and you don't serve them anymore. In fact, you make them uncomfortable because they want a simple life and you want a good life. And so in order to do that, you have to also remove the toxins. It's kind of like food. If toxins and poison enters one of the apples, it's going to spread to the other apples in the basket, and it's your job to filter out and identify where the poisons are so you can remove it before it infiltrates your entire nutrition. And that goes the same for business as well. Big thing for me has been exercise, and it may not look, you might be like, what are you talking about? You know, David Goggins, you know, and I would agree with you. So when I exercise, it's not just to get to a Cristiano Ronaldo body, to a sub 10% body fat, which I have been when I was playing football or soccer for you Americans. And it's more so knowing that when I do that, I position my body and my brain to have energy. So I sweat, I get the blood circulation going, my mental focus increases. If I do a cold shower, same thing. This slow dopamine effect takes place, and I'm able to be more productive and to be more creative, which increases my chances of closing clients, doing better work, have a better portfolio. All these things compound. Just like going out to that party, drinking alcohol, doing drugs, being with toxic people. There's studies showing that tomorrow you're actually going to be thinking 80% of the thoughts that you were thinking today. But we don't think about that. We don't even think 1 year ahead. We just think today, this is what I'm going to do. If I eat, I'm going to eat what feels good today instead of what's going to fuel me the entire day. So it's not even what feels good today. It's if I eat this, I'm going to feel good right now, right? And it's not about what actually fuels me. But successful people, they think, what do I need to optimize my brain and my body to function so I can perform at a high level? Because that's what high performers and top 1% earners do. So in order to do that, now you can see why studying every single day, studying specifics, studying beliefs and principles, why that matters. Because if you know why they do something, you can then model it into your life. And so some of these things you're actually going to be able to apply even if it's not the same business that I have. You might not even know what a funnel is, or what a funnel agency does, or what a funnel builder is, or what it means. But the principles will help you in your business. So when you think about these things, you'll know how to optimize your own life. The next thing is do hard things and do them first, and seeking hard challenges. So I think there's a concept called self-inflicted challenges, or hard things. So, or self-inflicted pain in a good way. So when you do that, you know that the meeting that you're going to have with the 9-figure CEO at 5 p.m., you're going to be a little bit nervous, or you're going to have this first client, or you're going to talk to someone who it makes you a little bit nervous. Maybe you're preparing a presentation to exit your company and you're talking to investors. That is only hard if everything you're doing that day and that week is easy. If you think about it, this is just called contrast. Everything I've done has been watching TV, watching porn, eating sugar, fast food. Everything is easy, therefore the thing is hard. But if you wake up when you don't feel like it, you go straight to the shower without scrolling. These are things that naturally you wouldn't feel like doing. Therefore, they're hard by definition. And so when you go and have a cold shower and you're standing there for a minute and you're breathing heavily and your body is trying to survive and is spraying your entire body full of dopamine, now that was the hardest thing and you did it at 6 a.m. or 9 a.m. It's not even about the time that you wake up. But you did it even though it was hard. You went for a run. You will listen to an audiobook when you just felt like laying in bed because mentally maybe you're struggling right now. But the fact that you're doing it, the meeting isn't even hard. You have more energy because you did the hard thing, especially if it's like you're sweating or you're doing a cold plunge or cold shower, something that is hard. And then the next thing is kind of like, okay, sure, I might be a little bit nervous, but my body and my brain subconsciously knows that I am doing hard things because it's who I am. Which leads me to the next thing, and that is reprogramming your internal computer, which is your identity. So if you think about your body, that's kind of like the shield, right? And it's just external and it's whatever. But your internal, your soul, your identity, your characteristics, these are the things that actually matter. So in order for you to have a $1 million business or 10 million or $100 million business, I don't think personally that I would handle a 9-figure business really well right now. If we take a brand or a company in this industry of funnels, and I had to manage 900 people, I'd probably be a little bit lost. But I could manage 50 people because that's been the identity that I've grown into. And so that's why you hear people talk about success being sort of like a lot of failures, is because at every level there's new challenges and you have to fail to learn the lessons. Then you go to the next, you hire a few people, you learn a few lessons, and so it feels like a failure. But if you zoom out, it's actually a compound taking place. It doesn't look linear, right? So it's exponential instead. And that's why most people give up when it's hard in the beginning, because you just see the flat line. You don't see the L curve or J curve, or whatever it's called. So in order for you to handle that and become the person who can build a business where you not just make money, but you also keep it, the skills are one part, the characteristics are one part, but the daily habits and the mindset is the subconscious part that everyone misses. It's the identity. Because if you don't think that you deserve it, number one, but if you haven't earned it and actually done the work on yourself, then your team is not going to follow you. Your community is not going to follow you. Your fan base is not going to trust you because you haven't earned it. You haven't done anything. It's like if I give you $1 million, if you win $1 million, then sure, you have some money. Who knows how long you're going to be able to keep it before you've spent it, but you're not able to multiply it. You're not able to grow it. And there's a Bible verse actually that talks about the 2 sons or 3 different sons, I think, who were all given money, and they went out and one came back and said, hey, here's the money. I buried it and I now just to keep it safe. And here it is. Here's the money. And it's not hurt. It's not gone. It's here you go. And I forgot who it was who said, well, okay, so you're not going to get any more because you didn't treat it well. You didn't grow. You don't have abundance. You don't have strategic thinking. You don't seek opportunities to help the kingdom or the community or to help others and to grow things, expand. And then the other person was like, here, I took your $1 or your 1 coin and I made it 10. And it's like, great, well done. Here's more. So whatever small I can trust you with, the more you're going to get. And so, I don't know, that was a quick little side tangent. But I think what I was getting at is if your mindset is, I can take something that I have right now, do the most of it, make the most of my situation, no matter how bad it is, then life, universe, or God, I believe in God, will give you more opportunities. And if you don't do anything with it, it's kind of like downloading data sets. You're doing the best with what you get, but if you don't act on them, then God is going to give that idea, that gift to someone else who actually does something with it. And if they do something good, they're going to get more. And that's just sort of the principle of the universe. The next thing is just shut up and stop announcing things. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but when you actually make announcements to people like, hey, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to make this a new challenge where I'm going to try hard things. I'm going to wake up every day and do this and that. What actually happens is there's dopamine being released and you feel like you've already done half of it. So chances of you actually completing it goes down. So now you instead got to use external validation as accountability and say, because I announced it, I also have to do it. But instead you could just not announce it and you could just focus more on visualizing the exact life that you want to have, what you want it to look like, and how you're going to get there. And every day you wake up, you don't tell people what you're working on. You just do the work. And then you just learn the skills. And then you just, every day, you hammer the same thing and you just work on improving. And suddenly people start saying like, man, this guy is blowing up. And you seem like an overnight success story. And people want to know what the secret was. And you're like, it's the hammer, it's the everyday thing. And that's what people call the grind. And sure, yes, you want to work smart, but you also want to work hard in order to get as many lessons as possible as quickly as possible. It's like if you knew that the lessons were learned through hardships, why would you avoid the lessons? If you knew that challenges would give you wisdom, why would you avoid the challenges? If you knew that you had to break down the muscles in order to gain muscles, why would you avoid breaking down the muscles? So your mental gym should be doing work where you actually feel this sense of overwhelm because you're actually going outside of your comfort zone. And that's why it's like muddy and it's hard and it's rainy and it's stormy, because you're learning things and you are growing. And so when you get to the next 3 levels, you look back down at the first one and you say, man, I can't believe I thought that was hard. That was easy. But people who didn't start, they're still at that level thinking, man, this is so hard. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I want to have a business because it's too hard. And what they're actually avoiding is the personal development that they go on, the journey that they go on of developing self. When you develop yourself, the business becomes easy. If you avoid growing as a person, business is hard. So it's a very simple motto and principle to keep in mind. The next thing is stop going to conferences. So a lot of you are looking for support from other people, which is not bad. You're looking for conferences to have fun and meet new people, and you want to tell them about your goals, and you want to have someone that you can message and chat with, and that's good. I met some of my lifelong friends in the entrepreneurship game at conferences like Funnel Hacking Live by Clickfunnels, and I'm super grateful for those. And I've been able to be on their podcast with some of them are our clients. I've been able to work with a lot of them, but that's not the thing that got me to where I am right now. In fact, some of the times I've gone to conferences to kind of just take a break, see something different. And also, it's not necessarily bad to do that now and then. It's like if in a year, if you work hard, you'll know when you deserve a vacation. Okay, now during Christmas and New Year's Eve, I'm just gonna take a week off, spend it with family. Great, amazing, but you know that you've earned it then. And I think what I'm getting at is when you go to conferences to feel like you're being productive and networking, but you're not actually leveling up as a person with your skills, your value to the marketplace. So now, if you met those people and you meet them at the conference, you go home, you have a meeting with them, a sales call, and they're interested in something. If you're not good at what you do, the entire business crumbles, right? That's why you see a lot of people who are billionaires. They just worked on the foundation for long enough, for 10 years, and the business became the thing that made them stand out, not the marketing of the thing. So not the networking, but the product or service, the quality made it the whole game super easy. And everyone else at the conferences, they're doing the marketing for you because they're talking about you. They're talking about the best people who can help you with this and that. And it's the person who's like every day, they're adding the block, another brick. They're building brick by brick, and they're building while everyone else is planning the bricks, the structure of the bricks, the different types of the bricks that you could use. And so be the one that is architecting and putting together and assembling the bricks. Be the doer, not the talker. Read more books. I talked a little bit about reading books, but I would just start implementing them more into your daily routine. So you might think, well, I don't have time to read books. I'm watching courses. I'm doing the work, like you said, Gusten. Well, I would, when you wake up, for an example, if I'm in the hot tub or if I'm out for a walk, which you should do every single day, you should get outside to get some fresh air. You could just listen for 15 minutes, and I promise you that you'll get one or two things that you can take away. As I'm walking or when I'm running, I'm literally stopping to type out on my notes on my phone. So I have a ton of notes here of like, here's the 7 things that I learned. Here's the 1 thing that I learned. Here's 2 things I should do. And every day, like imagine if you stack that information bank, the fact that I'm writing it down makes it more stickable in my brain. And so it's not just about looking for the skill, which I said is one of the things, like study specifics. It's also studying things that you didn't know that you didn't know. Studying things to get a perspective of something new, which is something you couldn't have found because you don't have a mentor who could tell you specifically on your situation. But when you read enough or you listen to enough books, you'll get things that you didn't even know you needed. And you're like, man, that's so true. Why didn't I do that? Why I've been working so hard, which is a good thing, but why was I working so hard on this and not this? Why didn't I focus more on this? Like imagine if you didn't watch this video, then 1 or 2 things that you'll take away from this video, you wouldn't have them because you would have skipped the video. But now you're still here, which is what 99% of people isn't. They aren't. They already left. They're doing something else. Next one is, and this is such a big one, it's something that has completely changed. In fact, if I only had to pick one out of these 31, and this might sound crazy, this is the one. This is the one principle that changed everything. And it's called neutralizing. And when I say neutralize, there might be a couple of things that you're thinking about, but I promise you once you understand this, your life will never be the same. So when you go through something that's really bad, that maybe it's a breakup, maybe someone dies, maybe it's an accident or whatever, like something super bad happens that you perceive as like horrible, devastating, you're crushed by it, and you might be depressed because of it, you might be feeling a sense of depression because of it. Like I remember one time when I was in my lowest moment and I got this huge tax bill. It was 30,000 and I couldn't afford it. 30,000 euros. And I was looking at it and I knew I had a choice to make. Like, I can't pay it. I don't even know what happens when I can't pay it. What do I do? What I do now? Everything that I worked for, gone. Everything I said I wanted to do, gone. Everything I announced, gone. My reputation, gone. My goals, dreams, gone. And I thought that at the moment that was going to be it. And I didn't see the blessings that came from it. And that's like, of course, that's natural. It's like everyone is so focused on what is happening right now that we can't even visualize. Even if it doesn't happen, we can't even plan or visualize, imagine what potentially good could come out of it. And that's why we suffer so much from even little things that mean nothing compared to other horrible things in the world. And so just perspective of saying like, wait, this compared to someone who don't even have a roof over their head, they don't even have a bed, they don't even have food to eat. What is this? Like, sure, if I lose everything, what's the worst thing that will happen? I'll have to start over. Well, I'll just start over. And when you neutralize something, it's not that you ignore the problem, but you recognize it for what it is, but you also highlight the other things that can come with it. So if you have a breakup, then when someone is being removed from your life, someone new is entering. That's just the pendulum and the nature, the law of the universe. But if you're too focused on like what you're losing, what you don't have, then you miss all these beautiful things and people and memories and the lessons, the wisdom and insights because of what happened. So remember when I said I failed a lot of businesses, but I learned one or two things each time that stacked on top of each other? Those are things that in the failure didn't feel like wins. And so if you do the opposite, something that is a win where everyone is praising you, they're like, man, you're amazing. This is so good. How are you doing it? Can I learn from you? You fail to recognize your weaknesses because you're just like filled with optimism and dopamine and endorphins and all these mental drugs that are making you feel good. So you become blind to the weakness. Have you ever seen someone blow up and they become really big and everyone is like praising them and then they have a huge downfall? It's because they got too blindsided by it. They didn't see their weaknesses. They didn't identify the threats. And a lot of times that's when we self-sabotage, sometimes subconsciously because we don't feel like we're worth it. But a lot of times just by mistake, by not recognizing our weaknesses. So when you look at something that is good happening, it's perceived as a good thing. It's good if you also neutralize that and come back down and you're like, okay, this is good. Thank you, God. I'm grateful for this, that it happened. Thank you for protecting and providing and helping me. And at the same time, you can ask God or the universe or whatever you believe in, you can ask for wisdom and guidance and say, this upcoming week, I want to be guided and I want to be protected and I want to have the wisdom to understand what choices to make. If you don't believe in any God, this is just you saying to yourself instead, you would say, okay, I want to do the best with what I have this week. I want to make the right decisions. I want to make them based on my beliefs. I want to serve people. I want to help a lot of people. And I want to continue to improve where I'm lacking. And if you're having a bad day or something super negative that you perceive as negative, then you'd say like, I'm going to take a moment and look for the wins, the lessons. And so you could write down everything that was bad about it and then everything that's good. It's kind of like if you have an amazing partner or amazing friend or amazing parent or parents or kids and you're like, you only focus on what you wish they were. I wish my kids were doing this instead. I wish my parents would support me with this. I wish my partner would say this or do this. It's like you can create resentment out of nothing because everything in life is pros and cons, goods and bad, and red and green. And so if you fail to recognize the green, then you'll just see more red to the point where you might ruin the relationship with parent, partner, kids, friends, business relationships. So neutralizing everything is not just about learning new things from failures. It's about creating a mental neutral state where you can create flow, right? Because if you are more neutral, and this is not just to be like cold-hearted and not have emotions. I'm an empath. So I'm very sensitive to emotions and to impressions and to people. I can still look at something that is perceived as a bad thing and say, well, right now I don't have all the information. Right now I don't know if this is good or bad yet. So why would I sit down in that? Why would I go to sleep in the negative mess that I still don't see the blessings from? Why would I take the time to be like, man, this sucks because of this, this, and that, when I don't even know like the 7 different things that's gonna come out of it that maybe is beautiful, a new partnership, a new skill, a new business, a new person that I'm helping change the life of because I'm having this experience. And so a lot of times we look at something bad that happens to us as like, why is this happening to me? Instead of saying, God, please help me to help someone else and bless someone else because of me, because of this thing. It's the essence of Jesus Christ. Doing something horrible, terrible, and super hard for you, for me. And it's because it was so hard, you couldn't do it. And so in life, you'll go through stuff that other people might not go through. And it's because you have a purpose. You have a place in the world and in society where your mess, and this sounds cheesy, your mess is going to be the message. Your pain is going to be your purpose. Right? It's going to be like the thing that you build your story around. And I remember one time I was struggling so bad and I was like, I didn't see exactly a way out, but I was like, man, one day I'm going to use this as a story on stage. And I could see myself, I could visualize myself talking to hundreds of people and just be like, man, because of that thing, I'm now here to tell you that the thing that you're going through is going to get better. It's not going to end like this. It's not going to be forever. This too is going to pass. And when I visually saw myself on stage, I could feel gratitude for the pain that I was experiencing 10 seconds earlier. So imagine if you just every day would neutralize yourself and you'd write down, and by the way, this is a really good concept from Dr. John DeMartini. I think it's a book called the DeMartini Method. And that's where I learned this. And it changed my life. Everything in relationships, in business, in life. Because I noticed, like for example, if you have guilt, maybe you have shame. Maybe there's something like you have this big vision and goal of something you want to do and you want to provide for your family. But you know that on Saturdays, where you used to just take Saturdays and Sundays off, you're going to work 8 hours and then you're going to take Sunday off and Saturday night. You might be feeling guilt or shame when you're thinking about what you're giving up, what they're losing out on, because you're just focusing on the one side of it. If you flip the coin and you say, what are some good things that come out of this? Well, if we have less time together, we might maybe have more quality time. Maybe if we miss each other a little bit because I'm going on a business trip, when I'm back, we're actually going to enjoy the time together more. Maybe I go and meet other people that gives me, maybe other cultures, countries, that gives me appreciation of what I have at home that you wouldn't get if you didn't sacrifice your emotional state where you felt like you were losing out on something. So now instead of feeling shame or guilt, you feel gratitude. And you're also adding to your personality, your characteristics, your story by experiencing new things, and you're creating memories. Now if you bring your family with you because you're growing your business, you're improving yourself, and you're doing things, you're now enriching their lives as well because you were able to go and willing to go outside your comfort zone. So you see this as a negative. I see it as neutral because there's also drawbacks, right? So there's positives and there's negatives every single time. And just identifying those by writing them down is going to change your entire life. And I'll give you another example. I know this is a long one, but it's so key. When I first had my meeting with a 9-figure business owner, and I was making 6 figures, and I felt so small. Like, who am I to have a meeting with this person? I remember something I learned as a Christian growing up, where if you visualize yourself standing in front of God, and it's you and it's this person and it's someone else. Maybe it's someone that you put on a pedestal, but it's also someone that you look down on as like not as smart as you, not as driven, not as whatever. They're not maybe a good person helping people like you want to do. And so you look down at them. And now you all stand in front of God, and God says, I look at you as all of my kids, therefore you're equal. And I was like, if I have a meeting with this person now then, and I look at us as equal, as literally brothers, we're the same, which we are, then why should I be nervous? And sure, that's not to say that you'll never experience the emotions of nerves, but you'll experience it differently. You have more confidence because you're not trying as hard. It's not something that you're desperate to achieve, because if this doesn't happen, you'll get another opportunity, because every time you'll do the best of the opportunity that you were given. So now you're like, sigh of relief, because you know that this person too is just like me. And you'll have more love for other people that maybe you were looking down on. You'll forgive people that you held a crutch on. You're like, I forgive them, not maybe because they deserve it, but because of my peace. Because I deserve peace. Neutralization is powerful, because it allows you to come back to the middle where you don't feel a lot of things, you'll feel a lot of peace. And so it's powerful in business and personal life. The next one is seeking opportunities. So when I say seeking opportunities, I mean by you just visualizing what you want, you're putting out to the universe and to God, you're saying, I'm here, I'm willing to show up, and I'll prove it by actually doing it. I'll show up, I'll do my best. I'll be looking to improving these areas. I'll just focus on the controllables, right? You can't control the uncontrollables. But when you do that, you start seeing things in life that look similar to that. It's if I said, it's the same as if I said, I'm actually gonna give you, like every time you see a BMW, I'm gonna give you $100. And then you start seeing them more often because you're looking for it. But that's just financials. That's just money. And because it's something that most people want, you'll actually be looking for BMWs as you're going through downtown wherever you live. But if I said, when you start a business and you find the right team members, just introduce them to me and I'll give you $1,000 each time you introduce them to me. Or if I said, look, this is possible to you through stories, through examples and everything, I would instill beliefs in you that something is possible. So when you see something, an open door, you see it as an open door, not a threat into uncertainty. Meaning when someone posts something online and you're like, this is, and they're saying like, here's what I'm looking for. Instead of you saying like, that's interesting. Or, I wonder what business they have. And you spend 2 hours on their YouTube channel, and then you go back to whatever you were supposed to actually be doing. Instead, your mind is always like looking for opportunities of like, okay, is there anyone that I can introduce? Maybe even me. Like, what if this is something that I could do? And if I see synergy and leverage where there's a win-win, maybe I'll just apply for this thing, or maybe I will create something free and send to them without asking for anything, because everything is an opportunity. And now you're not going, man, this person is so much more ahead of me. I'm so jealous. I'm so, obviously you wouldn't say jealous, but you would subconsciously not see it as an opportunity, but more as a threat or as a disturbancy in your life. Like, why is this happening? Why are they better than me? I wish I could do that. Man, I bet they're doing something that's illegal, or I bet they're doing something that's, scam me or whatever it is. Instead of like, how can I get closer to that person, serve the community, get involved, and when it's my time, I'll get more recognition because I've earned it, and I'll win from this as well. That's how the marketplace works. The next one is morning routines. The good old morning routines. So I wake up, sometimes I go take a shower, then get to work. Sometimes I'll just go and do work. And this is so fascinating because if I go and exercise first, and then I do a cold plunge or a cold shower, and then suddenly I've spent 2 hours that I feel behind now. Instead of like waking up, having a good 8 hours of sleep, and just getting the work done and just doing the work. And so I'm not saying you should avoid routines, because I do believe that fueling your body is kind of like a car. You know, you need a really good engine, you need the right fuel, right? And then you need to check on the machinery and everything every now and then, inspections and all that. So it's the same with your body, because otherwise, imagine if you had the wrong fuel that you're slowly poisoning yourself with, and that is then hindering you from being creative and being wise in your decision making, which is hurting you long term. And now if you take something that is like super, like an example, we'll take Pepsi versus Coca-Cola. Now every month you had to remove one thing out of the ingredients. Just one thing at a time, people wouldn't notice. Over time, people would definitely notice, because you'd be like, man, something's different. Tastes more like chemicals, or it tastes more like, man, something's different here. And it's the same in your life, where you might not even recognize it because you're turning into a zombie. If you scroll for 5 hours a day, you just scroll and you're eating fast food and you're having like you have all these poisonous ingredients in your body, which is also connected to your brain. And you're like, I don't know why I'm feeling so anxious. I don't know why I'm not feeling motivated. I don't know why I'm always tired. It's like, maybe it's the habits that you've done for 12 months now, right? And so it's the routines of fueling your body and mind and your soul with the right ingredients. And there's a quote that goes something like, there's a good and the bad inside of you. It's like the God and the devil, like which one wins? And it's the one that you feed the more. And so it's more about feeding, and it's just like planting the seeds in business, like how you feed your body with the molecules and the things that fuel the bio cells on a macro, micro, whatever it's called level, that then compounds over time. It's like if you do 10,000 videos, you'll probably be good at video communication. If you do 10,000 of anything, you'll probably be good at it. So why is it that our fuel and our sleep and our nutrition and all that gets overlooked? I don't understand it. Next one is hire the best only. So instead of hiring 100 people to learn something, let's say you buy courses on Udemy because they're $10. Now you've wasted a year. You've learned the foundations, which you could also find on YouTube. You've spent, let's say, 10,000 because each of those courses were 100. You spent all this time and money, which now this is called opportunity cost. This is the cost of, some people call it the ignorance tax. If you're ignoring the wisest decision, which would have been to just go straight to the source. It's like if I have a question about someone, I could either ask 10 of their closest friends what they think, or I could just ask the person, hey, what about this? And so when you hire people either on the team or as a mentor or coach, just go straight to the best one. The one that you trust, that you know is like good at what they do. Ask whatever they'll charge you, and depending on your budget, you'll just pay them what you have available for their service. So it could be one-on-one, it could be a course, it could be their book for $10, it could be whatever it is to get as close as possible to their brain, to their mind, to their decision making, to their principles, and understanding how they think, because that's the secret. That's the actual secret. So I think that's it for this video. We'll do a part 2 with more examples, but this gives you a lot of foundational stuff that truly change how I view my business. It's helped me go from 0 to 100K to 1 million and beyond. It's helped me exit my business, grow it, systemize it. And every time that I make a decision, I know kind of the mental models and frameworks and rules within my decision making that I now do on autopilot based on all the inputs and sources of information that guides me through my decision making in my personal life and business. So hopefully this helps. I'll see you in the next one.